Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel again. Sorry it's been, I don't know, maybe 3 weeks since I've been able to work on this busa. I've pretty much been down and out with the flu, coughing, congestion, so it's kind of been pretty rough. It's not really a flu, it was a pretty bad flu. It was, fevers and stuff. So I was down for a good while, but I'm back. So I'm still a little congested and I'm feeling a little weak, but we're gonna get this engine getting going here. I got to get this thing back together. While I was sick, and within that 3-week time, I did end up picking up some parts. I said to heck with it, and I picked up a new head. No, I'm sorry, not a new head. New to me head. It was complete. Complete cylinder head off of eBay. I couldn't pass it up. It was $240. They said it's good. I haven't taken the cams out to check the journals yet, but everything looks good from here. We'll do that in a little bit to confirm. So $240 for the head. Couldn't go wrong. I was getting outrageous quotes to kind of fix the cylinder head. The cylinder head can definitely be reused, the old one with that bad journal, but it's got to be stripped apart, line honed. I probably welded, then line honed, and at that point you're way past $240. So I decided to just use that head for parts. I'll strip it apart at a later time, keep the valves and everything, and then just move on. So $240 for the head, and I have more parts here somewhere. And then I got another gasket kit, because every gasket on this thing was pissing. I mean, they just used RTV everywhere. Really don't want to do that. And then another Cometic head gasket. The gasket, the old one, looked like it was reused a couple times, which you're not supposed to do. So Cometic gasket was like $100. Ouch. And then this, I think this gasket set was maybe $80 shipped. So that with the head, the gaskets, we'll call it 300 with shipping, 3-4, almost $500 just the gaskets, gasket kit, head gasket, and a head. It was going to cost me more than that to fix the bad cylinder head anyway, and then I still needed an intake cam because the journal was damaged on the cam as well. So goodbye, old head, and welcome the used head. Cross our fingers it's good. The guy gave me 15 days of warranty on it because he was a salvage yard, I guess. And he said if the head doesn't work, you have 15 days to install it and test it. If it doesn't work, you can send it back for a refund. I'm like, okay. I've been down for a little over a week. This head's been sitting here for quite a bit. So I got to get my butt moving and get this thing out here. So last video, if memory serves me right, I haven't looked it up. We were having timing issues. I did notice after the last video, let me show you here, that there is some, I don't know if you can see it on that angle, it appears the intake valves were slapping, just touching the pistons. So there's no damage to the piston, there's no damage to the valves on the old head. So my guess is whoever was putting this apart, because the cylinder head bolts were loose, somebody had this apart, or at least the cylinder head off, that they didn't know what they were doing. Or they had the same problem I was having where I could not find the timing marks. So after the last video ended where I was getting frustrated, I couldn't see the timing marks, I took this starter one-way clutch pulley off, and lo and behold, the timing marks were so faint you could not see them. And I think I showed it on the video last time, you know, zooming up, and I mean literally you couldn't see the damn things. So I scribed it a little deeper, this mark here and that mark up there, and then I highlighted it with blue permanent marker because I just couldn't see it, a damn thing. It was horrible. And now with the cover on, sorry for the shakiness, with the cover on, let me get the flashlight here. And they got 10 pounds of RTV on there. I'm still trying to get off. So you could see the little, I don't know if you can see it with the, well, yeah, the phone's going to be in the way. No. There's the little blue mark, and it lines up where my finger is with the little notch in the cover, and that's how the timing goes. So whoever did it before, I don't know if they did it right, because I couldn't turn the crank to see if the timing marks were correct, but I'm guessing they were very far off, and that way the valve was just tapping the intake valve was tapping the pistons because they were off. Because when I initially got the bike, it cranked over, so it was cranking and cranking. I didn't hear any tapping or piston hitting valve noises, and it just very faintly hitting the pistons, to a point where the starter can still turn the engine over, but there was just no compression because the timing was off. So I am confident the bottom end on this engine is good, and I don't have to tear into it. After we get the head on, after I get the head on, I'll flip this over, pull the pan, inspect anything in there. I'm gonna pull the clutch out, just because it's leaking. It's literally, when the bike's on a kickstand, it's literally dripping out of the cover. So I'm gonna take that off, inspect the clutch, because this was a drag bike, so I'm betting that clutch is probably destroyed anyway. And then remove the stator cover as well, and replace that gasket. And most likely I'll probably just replace the stator itself because the wiring is all cut anyway. All right, so enough talking. Let's get going. This is a little trick I use. I don't know if you guys seen these before. They're like little erasers, sticker erasers. I don't know what you would call them. 3M makes them, and a bunch of other people make them. They essentially take off stickers on vehicle paint, or pretty much on anything, without damaging the paint. It also works very well on old gasket material. I used it on this surface right here, and it took it right off. You just have to be careful because it works just like an eraser, and it ends up blowing like eraser dust everywhere. So you do have to blow out and clean up everything, cover it up, etc. Oh, and of course, since it's an eraser, it's not going to damage the aluminum. It's only going to take the gasket material, the sticker. In this case, gasket material, not stickers. I'm not going crazy, I'm just running it over it just a little bit. Whatever remaining gasket material is there. And then I could just blow it off with the air. Alright, now I'm going to just take the cams out of here, just so I can verify that the journals are good. Oh, and another thing I forgot to mention. The first thing I did when I got the head was I sprayed some WD-40 in all the intake runners and the exhaust runners just to see if it leaked past the valves, and it did not. So it appears we do have a good valve seal there. That's why I didn't do this prior, because I just assumed the head is good, but before I go through all this and put it on, and then if the journals were bad, then that would be pretty pointless, because then I'd have nothing. I pretty much have the same problem as the old head. When I bought it, the first thing I said was, ooh, $240? Something's got to be wrong with it. And then I was talking back and forth with the seller, and he pretty much said there was a little corrosion in the exhaust runners, and I said, okay. good enough for me. I don't care about corrosion in the exhaust. This is not going to be a race bike anymore. Well, I don't know what it's going to be. If once I get it running and I sell it, whatever the next buyer wants to do with it. Oh yeah, to the viewers, if through the background you guys see the TL1000R in the background on like previous videos, it's still here. I listed it for sale pretty much right after I fixed it, so it's on Facebook Marketplace in Chicagoland area. If any of you viewers are interested, it's priced at a winter price at $2,800. All right, journals, some minor scoring on this one, very minor, but much better than what the old head looked like. Intake cam is good. Intake journals are good. Running out of room here. And exhaust journals are good. And exhaust cam journals are good. So perfect. Well worth the $240. Technically $300 after eBay gets you for tax, and I think there was a little extra for shipping there. Okay, so it's missing the washers. So the old head all the washers for the bolts are in there. Scraper. And in this particular case, when you're swapping parts, such as a cylinder head, double check that your cylinder head has the pins in it. And if they don't, make sure you take those pins from your old head and swap them over. Otherwise, you're not going to be happy. Those guide pins are there for a reason. I'm really hoping, I'm confident this is the case, but I'm really hoping the bottom end is good, and it's just the person I bought it from. When he was talking, he didn't sound like he knew what the hell he was talking about as far as mechanics and engine knowledge. So I'm hoping he tried to time this thing himself, hence the Chilton's manual, or Haynes, whatever heck that thing is, that he just didn't time it right, and then the valves were tapping. Because the bottom end, it rotates free. I don't hear any clunking. There's no movement in the pistons up and down, as in a bad rod bearing or something. If I had time, I would strip it down. But in this particular case, I do not. You guys see me? Am I still in the picture? One-man show here. It's hard to do it all. One thing I don't have, which I really need to invest in, is a straight edge. I really would like to check if the deck is straight, but I don't have a straight edge on me. I mean, when I pulled the when I got the engine home, or the bike home, the coolant was full. So even cranking over, I mean, I'm assuming that the deck here is straight. But I guess that doesn't really mean anything if it doesn't go through a heat cycle. So if this doesn't work, and the bottom end is bad, then the only thing I'm really losing out on is that $100 Cometic head gasket, and obviously the time, which as of right now I got plenty of, but not to work on this engine, because I have to see if this head works, so I can remove it and take it back, send it back if it doesn't. Hey. Alright, it's looking as clean as I can get it. Just a lot of little residue. Like they put RTV on this damn thing too. I'm going to do the same thing to the head. Some fun stuff, huh, guys? Really got to take some video editing classes or something so that I could speed up the video for you guys. So you don't have to sit here and watch me scrape gasket material off the cylinder head. Unless you like that kind of weird stuff. That's pretty clean. Here goes nothing. $100 head gasket. One-time use. Talk about improper use of the tool. Should have done this before. Something else is in there. Man, that's crazy. A head gasket, $100. Nothing ain't cheap anymore. Nothing ain't cheap anymore. I don't think that sounds right. Double negative. It's the only thing I remember from school. Don't use double negative. Fact that things are in the head. This is the exhaust side. I'm just transferring these pins over to the actual block. So the gasket stays in place. The old cylinder head has the exhaust gas recirculation delete, so I gotta transfer those plates over to this new head because this one did not have it. Oh, lost the cup. I lost the cup and I don't see the spacer in there. Unless the spacer was gone. No, there's definitely supposed to be a spacer in there. Alright. That's not good. Let me find my magnet. Haha. Found it. It hit the ground and then it shot off. That's going to be really pissed if that wasn't in there. I really don't want to buy that shim kit. You know, I have one head here with spare parts, but the odds of you needing the exact shim is probably slim to none. All right, let's start this again. Put my magnet down where you needed it. Buried my small magnet. So disorganized. I wonder why I only have 21 subscribers. Be careful of these cam locks. I don't want those flying off in there. Come on, cooler. All right, round two. You got to put this in first. Dancing out. There's a pivot in there, and I can't pivot. Remember when I was complaining about someone who didn't know what they were doing working on this before? How in the hell did I get it wedged in here? Seriously. How in the hell did I do that? Stab myself in the eye. All right, let's pause for embarrassment, and I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Just a little bit more embarrassed than I was before. Put it in first, and I actually put it in the correct way. I was, for some odd reason, I was trying to put it in this way, but that's not the right way. Seriously. So now this is why that multi-layer gasket is one-time use. Right now it looks all warped and loose and doesn't look like it's going to do anything, but once you squish it together, it all collapses, and then that's all she wrote. You can't reuse it. All right, perfect. So now we're gonna put the bolts in. I gotta get the washers from the old head. For some reason they did not come out. So man, every one of them are gone on this one. So let me grab the washers from the old one. Steal the magnet. Magnet's too big. Let me find that other magnet before I break stuff. All right, we got them all out of the old head. I couldn't find that small magnet, so I had to magnetize the screwdriver to get them out. They're all the same size. There's no different lengths on these. Do have to check the torque spec because I haven't looked up any torque specs yet. Interesting. Well, looks like I found the first issue. Looks like this the threads are stripped. How does someone do that? Put the thing there so I can hold the chain up. No fearing for it falling down. It looks like the edge was stripped. Maybe they took the bolt out when the chain was under tension and it kind of just stripped the edge. Alright, let me find out what the torque spec is on these, because I have no clue. We go back to the Haynes manual. We tighten from center out and loosen from outside in. We're not tightening anything right now. I'm just running the bolts in. If someone has lube on the threads already, whoever was in there last time, I mean, at least they did that right. curious to see what the torque spec is, because these were pretty loose when I took them off. I mean, I did watch some other YouTube videos on this hayabusa engine, because, you know, I try and do my research. You know, I don't want to just come out here and take apart a hayabusa engine and not know what the hell I'm doing. Considering that's exactly what I did. But from the other videos I saw when they were breaking the head bolts loose, they were pretty tight. All right, let me find out the torque spec. Okay, so I looked it up. This doesn't sound right to me, but 25 Newton meter initial, and then 52 Newton meters second run at it. That sounds way too low for me. That's what the manual says. I guess they were on before correctly, but I mean, that just doesn't sound like enough. I mean, 25 Newton meters, that's the initial, and that's very low. All right, that's 25. Oh, wow. Okay. I guess 52 Newton meters is quite a bit. Damn. All right, 52 newton meters. I opted to use my 3/8 drive one instead of the 1/2 inch. So you can get, feels a little more accurate when the smaller wrench, because you could actually feel it straining, and then you know when it's going to click. Whereas the big 1/2 inch, you're pulling it, and then you hear it click. There's barely any resistance because the wrench is so big. Alright, put that back later. Alright. So that's in. Put these side bolts in. And then that pesky one that was hiding under here. That was sneaky of them. You can look up the torque spec for these, but it's like 6mm bolts, very, very small. Boom, done. Maybe 10 foot-pounds. I wouldn't go too crazy on them. That's it. Okay, let's get the cams in. This is the exhaust cam. Remember, you got this little retaining clip here. Make sure you don't lose these. Make sure they don't fall into the engine. Those clips are, they go into the groove of the bearing and they stop the cam from doing this. Those aren't there. The cam's gonna walk. Probably helps if I put the chain up, huh? Yes. And it also probably helps if I know where to go. Let me check the book for the timing marks. Alright, no one wants to watch me read a manual. Let me check the timing and we'll get everything sorted, how to time it, and then we'll proceed. Alright, got the page for the timing. Exhaust cam is in. I'm just applying some assembly lube to the bearing journals, just for that little initial startup, or I should say crank. I'm going to crank it just for a little bit before it runs, just so these bearings don't get damaged. Okay, it's definitely a must-have assembly lube if you're going to build any kind of engine. Alright, so exhaust cam, number 1 mark, number 2, and then number 3. So according to this, number 3 is down a little bit, and 1 is up, so we're going to jump at 1, 2, 3. And no matter what, now the 1 is down and 3 is up, so it looks like the book has the 1 up a little bit, so it was right that time, so I'm going to put it back. And it may change as you tighten down the journals and and tighten the tensioner as well. And now this one, the intake cam points at 3 is up, and then there's a specific amount of links. It looks like there's 15 links. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 links. That's where the number 3 aims up. So 15 from the 2. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Get in there. We're still on. We haven't moved. Okay, I did that. tensioner down there. And something down here. It is tight. There. Something's not right here, so it definitely came apart a lot easier than it's going back together. All the slack out of the chain. The tensioner's not in there, but it is not happy. Something is going on here. Alright, let me read up some more while I epically pause fail for you. I'll be right back. Alright, well that was 45 minutes of headache there. So intake or exhaust cam goes in first. You have the one pointing toward the top of the head. Then you have two pointing up. And when that two points up, it is pointing up, and on this portion of the chain and then you count 15 links from this point. So the manual has it on a complete link like it is now. You don't want the arrow pointed to a separate link. So it's right at the beginning of this link. So you're going to go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and then number 15 on the intake cam is where the 3 points to. And then that's how it gets set. The zip ties are there to hold the chain onto the cam while you're tightening everything up so it doesn't jump. And you want to leave those on there until the tensioner is in there and tight. What a nightmare. I've never had a cam struggle to go in like that. The last time it wouldn't seat right. The crank moved a little bit, so you do have to make sure that your crank is not moving. That mark has to be dead on. Otherwise, everything above that is going to be off. So I adjusted the crank back to where it needed to be and set the exhaust cam in first, exactly how it's set up here. And now I can start tightening down the cam caps, and then we can move on. Alright, there is a sequence. And reverse order of tightening. Let's see. Exhaust intake. We'll start off with 1, 2. So essentially the center. Just want to bring this down gently. You're just tightening it a little bit at a time, because you don't want to tighten one spot at one time. You'll snap these journals right in half, or even the cam. I'm just randomly tightening bolts now. I'm not going in any sequence. As I get closer to tightening them down. Right now I'm just trying to spread the load. Making sure nothing's changed. Cam hasn't, or the crank hasn't moved either. Sorry, you got a nice view of my back. Going as slow as I can, making sure I don't break the journals and the cam caps, because there's a lot of tension on it. Nothing moved. I'm not torquing anything, I'm still hand tightening. Alright, looks like all the cams are all seated, or the caps are all seated. Timing gear looks good. Exhaust looks good. Intake hasn't moved. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 is still good. Timing mark is still on top dead center. Now the only thing that sucks about these engines, or I mean any kind of solid lifter roller engine, is all this work you just did, and you stick the feeler gauge in there and you don't have enough clearance, you got to do it all over again to change the little shim. It's the only bad thing. Like modern engines, or car engines I should say, they have hydraulic tappets, so you don't have to deal with that, but they also don't rip to 12,000, 13,000 RPM. And unfortunately, that's the only way you can get that kind of RPM is with solid rollers or solid lifters. And that is unfortunately maintenance involved in having that kind of RPM. I don't know, maybe the new motorcycles have hydraulic lifters and so they can get RPM like that. I don't know. I've been out of the motorcycle business for 20 years, so I don't know what their new technology is. Alright, now the torque is, hell, it's very small. It's not even worth getting the gun out or the wrench. Tight. I'm not going crazy here, guys. These are very small bolts. The spec is probably only 15 Newton meters. I got the book, I can look it up. But when you're used to bolts this small, you kind of get the hang of what the torque should be. You got to keep in mind this is a 3/8 ratchet, not a quarter, so you're going to apply more torque to it. Alright, let me just go over one more time. I'm just checking make sure I tighten them all. I did it, I'm just double checking. So I'm not going in any order. Well, I'm not going in the correct torquing order. I'm just going in the random order. Okay, I got them all. And looks good to me. Oh, I'll drop that in there. That would suck. Now this tensioner, I didn't take the bolt out of the center. I was supposed to take that out, but I didn't. But I have to take that out to release the tension. Of course, I'm not going to be able to do it. Should have removed it while it was still installed. Wow. I have to put that in the vise. Alright, got that loose. So on the tensioner, it has this little mechanism catch, stops it from going back. So when you can't get it in, so you got to push this in, push that down, and now you can install the tensioner. And then once you put the bolt and the spring back in, it'll push out the correct amount of tension on the chain. Tensioner. Tensioner jumped. We're on TDC. Now we can cut off the zip ties. Now I always like to spin the crank, keep spinning it, and a couple times until you can replicate that your timing marks did not move. You have to spin the crank twice to get the timing marks to come back. And hopefully that did not work. So now the crank just spun, so something is broken here. I moved the crank now I feel like something jumped. That's under a lot of tension. I don't know how it jumped. Can't see the damn mark. Yeah, it jumped. That's not good if it's jumping under tension. Yep, it definitely jumped. There's top dead center. There's top dead center, and then everything moved this way. Lovely. So now we get to do that all over again. But that's for a next video. Right now I'm just gonna go in the house, cry, scream a little bit, curse whoever I can curse. That's not blaming me, but probably was me. But anyway, we have some progress. Just got to figure out why the hell it jumped timing. Maybe the exhaust cam or intake cam wasn't free. I mean, it was moving. Unless the tension, there was too much slack in it at the bottom, and then it jumped. Or it wasn't on the crank gear all the way. I mean, that's very difficult to see. But to be continued. Like and subscribe if you want to. If you want to see epic fails like this. This was not on purpose. I got a lot of money invested in this, so I don't break things on purpose. This isn't that kind of channel. So before I mess with anything else, we'll take it back apart on the next video and see what the heck happened. See you next time, guys.